Hey guys, how's it going? All right, so we are almost at the final stretch. So we're gonna get now into the into coding the form right now, so that we can actually use the configuration that we've made with Firebase email. So where were we? Right now, we should be at this spot right here where it already says installed. In the last video, we configured all of this and we had it spinning until the installment was done. Okay, so now if we click on get started, we can see some information here on how to use it. Now this thing changes all the time. Okay, so we're not gonna go exactly by this, especially with this right here, because this is fine, but this depends a lot on how you set up your Firebase, and depending on which version of Firebase you're using, you may not have to, or you may not be able to use it this way. For me, it didn't really work. I'm not saying this won't work for your particular setup of Firebase. If you set it up differently than the one I showed you in the video, you probably can make it work. If you're getting here from a different path other than following the tutorial, and you set up your Firebase somewhere else, or you had it using these functions right here, then yes, it might work for you. But excuse me, but we're using different things. Okay, we're using a different way of setting up Firebase, and a different way at the same time of sending information to the database by making use of our add doc and things like that, which is not in here. As you can see here, it's just add function. So we're using a different version of Firebase, and that's why it's working that way. All right, so without further ado, let's work on it. All right, so let's start from the top and let's just move over here to this. Where is it? Oh, right here. All right, so what do we have? We have the name, the email, and the message. Okay, so we know we're gonna need to send that stuff out. So the first thing we need to do is, man, excuse me, my voice is a little rough. We need to bring in a couple of items from Firebase and Firestore. So we're going to actually, I know this for a fact because we're going to be dealing with states, because we're dealing with a form, and we got to capture the value of the form inside of state. I know I'm going to be using the use state, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in there for now, because I know we're going to need it. But let's go ahead and move it to the top, because I like to keep React on top. I don't know why, I'm just weird like that. all right, so now that we did that, we're gonna go ahead and bring we're gonna import collection, and we're gonna bring add doc from Firebase and Firestore. That's correct. All right, and then yes, Firebase, that's correct. Now I don't know if that's the correct path, so let me just verify. That wasn't. That's not it either. Oh, there it is. Firebase. All right, so that's the correct path. Well, at least for my structure. If you, like I said, if you came in from a different path from your own website already, and you just landed in this video, then this is going to be different. Make sure that you have your path correctly. This right here is not so important. If you came from another place, this definitely is. All right. So now that we have that, we got to start creating our initial piece of data. So an initial piece of data, as far as the object, right? Like what the shape of the object. So we're gonna create the shape of the object as, and we're gonna call it initial state, initial data. Let's just call it initial data. And the initial data is exactly that. It's going to be the name, the email, and the message, which are going to be 3 strings, and right now they're going to be they're going to be empty. So let's call it initial form data. I like that better. All right, so now that you have that, actually this needs to be outside. Let's just put this outside. Sorry. All right, and flush it to the right, left. All right, so now in here, we're gonna have to create, there you go, we're gonna have to create a state, right? So a piece of state, we're gonna call it form data with a setter, so we can set things to these values right here. and then we're going to initialize the state, this form data, to this initial form data, so that way this equals all of this. Okay, once we set the form data based on the values that we enter in the fields, in the input fields, we're going to set the form data so the name equals the value of the field, that of the input field name value. The email equals to the input field email value, and the message equals to the input field message value. So with that, we're gonna come down here and we gotta make one change to this form group, because we don't have a way to catch value here yet. So we're gonna name it under the name, and we're gonna call it value. We're gonna use that as a prop, and we are going to just use the same name so that we can just call it the same. And anywhere here we can put value and then obviously we gotta send it down here, value. And should we make the value is require? No, I'm not gonna make it require, because some input fields are not required to, are not there to catch value, so to speak, for a state. And I know that sounds like 99% of the cases it is, but there's always that slight percent that it isn't. And one example of it is, for example, I do this weird thing, right? I'm not gonna use it here, but I add another field, right? And I make sure that I label it, if you're human, don't enter anything here, right? And I don't have a value attached to it. So I trick my form into thinking that is a working field, and therefore I trick the bots to thinking that it's a normal field. Then I put a function in there that if all the values are caught, like single thing has content in it, to put out the message sent, yay, however don't. Right? However, it doesn't go. It doesn't send anyway. And it tricks the bots, right? Now, for a human will read it and say, don't type anything in here, and they won't. So their phone will send perfectly. It's hard to explain. I'm not going to show this here. That will be another video thing. Alright, so now that this is done, I'm going to go ahead and save that form group so that I can catch my values here. Now here I'm going to be doing a couple of things, okay? I'm going to enter a couple of things here. First, I'm going to enter my value, and my value is going to be equal to the form data that name, form data right here, form data that name, right? And where are we? Let me just close this so I don't get confused. And then I'm going to copy this and put it here and here. But this one is going to be form data email, and this one is going to be form data message. Right here, name, email, and message. So my form data states are already attached to these three values right here. Now anything that I enter in this thing right here will eventually live inside a form name, inside of this piece of state, or this piece of state, or this piece of state. Okay, now in order for that to happen, I have to make sure that it records into it when I type something in there. So I have to put an onChange event, basically, with a function that is going to do this for me. So the onChange event is going to capture, it's going to trigger, when I'm typing something in there, it's going to trigger a function. And I'm going to call that function handle change. And that's pretty much going to happen for all of them. So I can go ahead and type that and copy that and paste it on all of them, okay? Because that's going to happen across the board for everybody. And now here I am going to start working on my handle change That's pretty close to what I want, if not identical actually. We're gonna do it a little bit different than that. All right, so that's gonna be my form right now, handle change, and then here I have to create this form so that it captures what is being written inside the things, inside those input fields, and then capture the value that is being there, right? So we're gonna bring a couple of things. We're gonna bring in the event, which is fine, right? So what is the event? So the event is basically, so I'll show you right now actually. So if I come over here and I log to the console, I'm just gonna console the event. I'm gonna console log the event just like it's there right now, just the event, and then I'm going to inspect this so you can see what I mean right there. Now as I type right something in there, you can see that all these events, for every time that I strike a key, you're gonna see an event, and the event has all of this stuff in here, right? The current target and all this crazy. We're gonna need the target right here. This is the target right here that we're gonna looking for, and then inside the target there is the value, and the value right now it has nothing in it, but that's the value. That's basically what we're gonna catch. All right, so just to see it clearer, I'm gonna target and value, and I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna save and rework this. I'm wondering why this is not catching any text whatsoever. Okay, it is catching it. There you go. UJ. Is it because the color? Should at least be. Alright, let me double check on these things here. The input value, yeah, all that works fine. BG dark white, BG darker, and if it's text dark when it's light, and text light when it's darker. Oh. Huh, that's pretty odd. I mean, it is recording, but it's not showing. All right, I'm wondering if there is if that's happening because of the all right, well, let's just see what's going on here. All right, so let's go back to the contact here. So let's just continue with the form because I know it's catching it, so at least it's fine. So yeah, but that shouldn't work that way. That's so odd. All right, let me get rid of the the form data name, and yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the unchange as well. I'm gonna get rid of all this and see if that's because I haven't finished. Okay, it's just because I haven't finished the function. That's really weird. I don't understand why it would do that. I don't understand why this would all of a sudden not make it work. I mean, I know that this hasn't been quite caught and passed into the form data, but still, it should at least, you know, in the front end part, it should still show. Oh well. All right, so we don't need this anymore. I just wanted to show you what that works, you know, how it works. All right, so what are we gonna do in the handle changes? So we're gonna have to destructure that event target that I just showed you, because we're not gonna need everything from the event target. So we're gonna create a const, and just like that, we're gonna deconstruct out of the event target just the name and the value. Now, name doesn't mean this guy only. Name means this right here. So we're gonna destruct out this name, and this name, and then we're gonna destruct out the value for each one of those. So that way we end up with, this guy will be name, form data name, this guy will be email, form data email, and this guy will be message form data message. That's what this will eventually create. All right, so now that we have that destructed, now we can set the form data exactly like that. What we're going to do, basically what we're trying to do here, is we're going to grab the form data as it is already, as the state already is there, and we're going to spread it out so that it spreads out into 3 different objects: the name, email, and the message. But then we're going to tag onto that the new name with its respective value from this deconstruction right here, and that's going to turn this form data, the setter right here is gonna turn this information inside into a new object or form data that will be populated with the things that you filled in, right? That you put in there. so that's how that will work. All right, and if we save it, I wonder if now it will work. There we go. Now it works. It's not going to add anything here because I took the console log out. All right, we can say we can, just refresh that. My God, I need coffee. I need coffee. All right, so what I need to work on now is, right now we're just collecting the data, but we're not doing anything with it. So we need to go ahead and send it out through the custom button that we created. Now the custom button, for the custom button, we created let me show you what I mean, just so you can see. We created these props here, and that props basically means that we can add more stuff to it, right? Like for example, the on click. You notice how we're not really using on click as a function, as a prop in here, and things like that. We don't have to, because we created these props here that will allow this custom button to accept props that are not specifically defined here. So really we don't need to do anything to this. So, and that's a good thing, because that cuts down a little bit. So let's just get that out of the way. And now we're going to add here an on-click event, and that on-click event is going to call a function. We're going to call it, let me fix that. And we're going to call it handle submit. All right, first thing first, this is going to be a button but not a submit button, right? If we leave it as a submit button, then we have to pass this on-click function to the form tag right here. For this to be a type submit, the on-click has to be here instead. I'm having a hard time making Firebase emails work that way, so I'm not gonna do it that way. I'm gonna keep it as a type button, and then keep the click event inside that button itself, not on the form. All right. So now that I have that, I have to create the submit. The submit button is going to be the one that is going to send the information to the database. The information that is being caught here through this handle change is going to be, and that is here actually, the information that is here and that is being caught through the handle base is going to be sent to the database. So we're gonna create a, what? I must have misspelled it. Yep, I did. Okay, I like that better. All right, so we're gonna create an asynchronous function, and that's correct. Okay, so in the asynchronous function, we're gonna first then I'm gonna create a const, and I'm gonna call it host email. Okay, and the host email is going to be your email itself. So what did we create? So if we go to my email here, and the email is going to be this one right here. So let's go back to that. So my email is going to be that one. That's going to be the email that you're obviously you're not going to use this one. Okay, this one is my trash email. So go ahead and use your own personal email. Okay. All right. So now in there, we're gonna go ahead and put a try catch. Okay, and then we're gonna try to send to the database, and then if it succeeds, it's fine. But if it doesn't succeed, it's going to be caught as an error. So let's go ahead and catch the error to begin with, and just to get it out of the way. And we're gonna put console log error, that's good. Error adding document and error, that's fine. All right. So before we do that, we need to add another piece of state for errors. So let's just go ahead and do an do I need a loading? I don't think so. All right, we're gonna put an error, set error. We're gonna call it error message, just so we know that this is not an actual error, but an error, just the message part. All right, so it's not 500 or whatever, but the actual, hey, something happened. Okay, and we're gonna because it's a message, it's a string, we're gonna leave it like this. And all right, cool. So now that we have that in the error here, we're going to make sure that we send in the console log, we're gonna send the error sending email. Okay, and then on this we're gonna capture just the message part, not the error, and error stack. All right, so we're gonna capture this. Now we're gonna send that to the console log so we can console log it if we have an issue, and then we're gonna set the error message to error sending email plus error message. Okay, so that they know. Or you could do it, yeah, you know, you could do it like this. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so now that that's done, we don't have to worry about that. We can worry about what's going to happen in here. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is, and I'll show you that later when I'm getting this information, but we're gonna need to, since this is an async function, we're gonna need to await so that it works asynchronously, and we're gonna do an add. We're gonna do an add doc function. So the Firebase, the add doc Firebase function adds a document to a collection. Okay, so we're gonna add a document to a collection, and the collection is going to be called mail. Okay, so what that's going to do, if we go to the database here, right here, to your Firestore database, is going to add a collection that is going to be called mail. And then in here, there's going to be, inside mail, there's going to be a collection. It's going to be a document in there inside the collection that is going to be called. Actually, yeah, that's the collection. It's going to be called mail. And then in here, you're going to see each document inside the mail. So for every email, there's going to be a new document inside of inside of that mail collection. Every email will be a new document, and that document will have all the information that you're gonna see, that you're gonna need, such as the what is being sent on, as well as the delivery, whether it was successful or not. You're gonna see a bunch of information, and we're gonna see that once we get this thing triggered. All right, so we wanted to make sure that when we fire this this function, that it creates a document inside of a collection in the database called mail. Okay. Alright, so now what's going to happen in there is we're going to review this right here. And this right here is the object, the document that is going to be sent. It's going to be sent an email to someone, and then in the message you're going to have the subject, the text, and the HTML, which is going to be sent as a body. Okay? So the message, the body, is going to be in there. So we're going to, and I'll show you how. I'm gonna just bring mine so that we don't have to copy and paste and all that crap. I may not rewrite it all, but you can just copy and paste it, and then I'll just explain what is it all, right? All right, so so first thing is, all right, that's host mail. There you go. All right, so it's gonna be from whatever field gets entered in the email. Okay, so this is basically, if I'm the one who's sending you an email, this is going to come from my email to your email that you set up here. So this will be your email. This too is your personal email, and this is the field, the email that is entered in the field. Okay, make sure that you don't have this backwards, because if you have this backwards, then the person that enters the email is going to end up getting his own email back to his own email. You don't want that, right? So this is the sender and this is the receiver. You're going to be receiving it, and this is the person who sent it. Okay, and then you're going to have another person and another piece of state inside the body. I believe that let me make sure that this is working correctly. The await before the catch. There we go. I was missing some type of tag in there. All right, now it works better. All right, so again, this is the message, right? Now in the message you can have a subject, and this could be anything you want, but I worded it out a little bit different. I put message from, and then I put the name. So this is what you're gonna get in the as the very title of the email. So it could be anything. It could just say message from the person, or it could say message from your website name. So just nobody else is gonna see this but you. Okay. The text. This is going to be sent. This is going to be sent to them, to the actual person that sent the email. Thank you for your submission request. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. They're gonna get this, so that's fine. And then in the HTML, you're gonna add everything that you added inside the field. So right now in the field we have a name, email, and message. So I put name and then the value, put email address and then the value, and the message and the value. So this, you get all of this inside your message. So if you have more than just these three fields, if you have for example another one that says phone, then probably you're gonna need to add another one here so you can get the value for the phone. And then obviously this would need to have another field for phone, and then you're gonna obviously need another thing here for phone and all that. But make sure that if you do add another field, that you also add it to the value or to the HTML here, because otherwise you're not gonna get anything. People are gonna type their phone in there, but you're not gonna get it. All right. So now that is done, it's basically sent, right? It's gonna be sent to the collection, but not before I set the form data. So I had to set the form data now to the initial form data. After it has been sent, I had to send it back to the form data so that it clears again. So what that will do is, after I send anything here, this is going to take care of sending that information to the database, and it's going to record, but it's going to persist on the screen, right? We don't want that. We want it to reset. So this right here is a resetter that is going to set my form. After this is complete, it's going to set the form data back to its own clear data that it used to be before. And then I want to create a show success actually. So let's just bring in another piece of data here, because besides clearing it up, we want some kind of message to tell the user that it was sent successfully. So we had to create a message. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create another piece of data here, state, and let's call it show, yeah, something like that, show success, and set show success. All right, and we're gonna create it to false, right? Because we want it to initially be off the screen. All right, now we're going to create, maybe on top of the form, on top of the card here, we're gonna create the forms. What am I doing? Okay, we're gonna create, what, stop it. We're gonna create, oh my God, stop it. Copilot is great, but sometimes it really gets on your nerves. All right, so we're going to create the conditional statements here so that it shows a green box with a message in it, but it has to be conditionally whether it has sent or not. So we're going to basically put show success, and then we're going to name, we're going to say, we're going to put a div class name, and I have some actually that I'm gonna put in here. And we don't need this, but we'll put it here just in case. That way we have it, but we don't really need it. All right, so I'm gonna have that one, and then the same way I'm gonna actually leverage the error message that we actually had. And you know what, I'm gonna grab the one that I have, and then I'll explain what I mean by this. Let's get to this bottom part in a minute. So what am I doing here is I am gonna be putting on the screen a message that said the email was sent successfully, as long as the email, the show success, is true. Okay, if it's false, none of this will send. Now I went ahead and did this BG success and dark BG success, text white and dark text white classes, color classes, so that it puts this one in green, and this one will be danger because it will be red. So make sure that you add that to your classes. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the colors that I already set up and put them on my classes here. So now this success will work with this green color, and the danger will work with this red color. So I'll save this and get it out of the way. Now this colors right here, you see how they now have color in it. Before they didn't, because they didn't exist. Now that they exist, they have color in it. So now you know that they're working. Now what is this doing? So this error message, if there is an error message, it's going to show this, and it's going to show the error message in it. Okay, so this is if something doesn't happen. So now that we have that working, let's go back to here, and then we want this to send the email to the database. Then we want it to clear, and then after it's clear, then we want to set we want to set this is the show message to true, so that it shows people, hey, it worked. Okay, and then we want to set the error message to nothing, right? Because it's sent. So if it's sent, then this should be empty. Now with that said, if it didn't send, this error message will still fire. Okay, and then the last thing that I want to do with this is, after all of that happened, right, after all that sent successfully, I want to make sure that the that the page refreshes, so that everything is brand new and clear. But you can use this opportunity to send the person somewhere else, like to a thank you page or to a home page or something like that. You don't want it to happen right away, because if it does happen right away, then you're not going to be able to get you know, they're not going to be able to see the message where the email was sent successfully, right? They're not going to be able to see this here if it happens automatically. So you want to create a function, a set timeout function. That set timeout function is going to set the show success to false, right? It's gonna remove it, and then it's going to send the person to a window location reload, which is going to be the reloading the page, basically. Now if you wanted to send the person to another page, you can make use of the navigate hook from import navigate from router done, and then you can use that to send the person and navigate, and then you can send the person to navigate to the I'm not going to type it up, but navigate to the home page, navigate to the thank you page, whatever route. But you have to have a route for it to work. If you don't have the route, it doesn't work. All right, so I can show you that maybe later if you want. Just tell me in the comments if you need it, and then I'll add it as a last video at the end. But for right now, I just wanted to just refresh. Okay, and then the timeout is going to be, in what time do I want this to happen? 5 seconds. I think that's too long. I'm going to put 3 seconds. Now what this will do is basically I will fill this out. I will hit submit. The submit will send the form out to my database. Then the form is going to say thank you, message sent successfully, and in 3 seconds, and everything's going to clear. The message is going to say thank you, and then in 3 seconds that message is going to go away and the page is going to reload. That's all pretty clean, and you're going to see it in action. Alright, so just to make sure that this is working, we want to make sure that this form right here, because I made all these things require, I want to make sure that this also works and it doesn't send any information, any empty information out, right? So first things first, I have to make this notable that it is required. So I do not have a required field. So let's go ahead and add required, and required. Alright, and I don't have anything denoting that is required, so I have to go to my form and then next to the label right here. So let me just bring this down to a second line so I can write it up better. So next to the label, I'm going to make a function that it says if it's required, yeah, just like this. Yep. So if it's required, I want to put a span tag with a text red, but this is not going to work, so I'm going to put the ones that we just created for danger. So it's going to see BG danger, and also for dark it's going to be the same, BG danger. Okay. And then obviously now this require has to be sent as a prop. So just add it right here. Yep, and now I have to add it to this, and this obviously will not be required. Required can be required. So, and now I can come back to the front here and it's already done, and there it is. No, not a background. Let's go back. Not a background. Alright, let me double text. Much better. Alright, last thing is I want to add maybe a margin left of 5. Too much. Margin left of 1 even. That's perfect. Alright, so now they are required. But that doesn't mean anything to the user if they can still hit the click, right? So I have to make sure that I put on my contact form, I have to make sure that I put it disabled. Alright, so now that it is disabled, let me make sure that that is going to be working. Alright, let me inspect and make sure that it added a disable thing to it, and it is disabled. It says it right there. So it is disabled. Alright, so I have to make sure that when I put it disabled, that I have some kind of, if it's disabled, I want it to have some kind of color, different color to it, right? So it needs to have different color, and it needs to avoid it needs to look a little faded. We'll do that later. Let's just first create the disable option, the disable function. So we're gonna want it to do a disable thing first, and we're gonna make something called isFormValid, right? And we're gonna put it over here so that it can check it, and then we're gonna say const isFormValid. Alright, and then that's going to be a normal function, and let's see what it's going to say. Yep, we wanted to say just that. So if the form is valid, I wanted to return my form data name, my form data email, and message. If you have a phone field, then add the form field to this and all of that. Alright, so now what we wanted to do here is we wanted to do the opposite of isFormValid, so that it looks for the disabled values, and if they are disabled, then it won't work. Okay, so right now this won't work because it's disabled, but if we put items in there, then it will work. Now let me see first, let me go back to this, and it's still disabled. And then now it's not, because it looked for values and now it's not. So now that we know that we have ability to create disabled and non-disabled state, we're gonna, let's see, just to make sure, like just get rid of that, and it's back to disabled. It shows the disabled again. So now we have to do a slightly little thing here. So first let's figure out what is it. It's a button, right? So we're gonna come over here to the index CSS, wherever that may be, right there. We're gonna add something to this. We're gonna put index, no, what, button. We're gonna put button, and then we're gonna put disable, button disable. All right, hang on. I don't think this is correct. I think it doesn't need the array. Button disable. I think button yeah, I think this is correct. Button disable, and then we're gonna want the cursor to be not allowed and the opacity to be on 0.5%. So as you can see now, I am not able to click it, and it's obscured, and it has that thing. All right, and then if I type something in there, then now it's because it's no longer disabled, I'm able to type it now, right? So now that this is pretty much done, let me just verify on my notes here that it looks done. All right, so now that this is done, it's still red, and this red because of this freaking React thing here that the linter is doing. So it's up to you. This is not gonna hurt it, but if you don't like this and you just want to get rid of it, you absolutely can. And you can even actually, you know what, you can just get rid of this and get rid of the use state, and then whatever you see this this use state, so let me just Control D and then go to the beginning, and you can put React dot, and that will work exact same way. That will work just fine because you added React dot in front of it, and then you don't have this red thing. So if this is your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea. But let's see this in action. All right, let's close this, and let's keep this open here. I'm gonna refresh it. Lewis test at test.com. This is a test, and submit. So now when I submit it, oh, you saw it? Hopefully you did. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. Now you're gonna have, well, let's do that later. I want you to actually see we can close this now. All right, and we can close this too. I want you to see this right here. Right now it has to refresh, but I'll refresh it so you can see it. If you refresh, you should see now there is a new collection called mail with a new document, and that document has all the information that you need in here. So it's got the info, and it says who sent it and all that stuff, and if and the state was success, it came from there, and it has the HTML body, the subject, the test, everything is in. Everything that you need is going to be in here. The delivery is basically what you need, but all of this right here will be for this document. Okay, so now if I go to my email and I look and do a refresh, there you go. There is the message right there, message from Lewis, and there is the information that I sent. So the email was sent successfully. All right, good. You have email now. You are able to send emails straight to the inbox, no spam box. So it'll be a lot more reliable, and that's great stuff. But I don't want you to go away without seeing the message box and all that. So I'm just gonna create a bogus one here, and a bogus one. This has to be an email format right there. Submit, and email successfully, which went away super quick. And then all right, so it went away super quick. So you have to somehow delay. We have to somehow delay this this here, so that this doesn't so that this set timeout doesn't trigger right away. But that's not really a big issue. That's something you can do on your own, because there's plenty of things on the internet that can show you how to control the set timeout so that it doesn't happen so fast. But or you can just simply get rid of it. you can simply get rid of it so that it doesn't go away, and then just in 3 seconds everything is going to refresh anyway. So let's do it in action like that as well and see if you like that better. There, 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 and there, and that. I still sent super fast. Okay, so it has to be done with the set timeout. Alright, so never mind that, and it's working. So that's basically all we needed out of this. Alright, so I think we are pretty much done with this as far as a functional website for that matter. But the only thing we need to do is maybe work on that little mistake, on that little error there, to make sure that the message stays on the screen a little longer before it sends out. But also then now we're going to show you in the next video how to package everything up and how to create a domain somewhere and send it in. All right, so the next one is not going to be much coding, but we're going to get to see this on the internet. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.